right, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Oh, my sign's off. There we go. How we doing? Welcome to another day. It seems sort of dark in here. It's all right. All right, Tuesday. Big day. Oh, look at this. Dust storm in Phoenix yesterday. That's pretty cool. Damn. Look at that. Huh. Pretty sick. Dust storm in Phoenix. I've never seen a dust storm. You guys been in a sandstorm? What's it like? Morning, everyone. Welcome back. Happy Tuesday. What a day yesterday. Tesla was pretty sweet. Tesla was pretty sweet. Perfect 335, straight from the playbook, straight from the thesis, straight from everything, man. Just perfect. Perfect. Hit the like button, absolutely. Morning, guys. Yeah, I sure do, Margin. Sure do. All right. Today we have ES key levels, very clear. NASDAQ, very nice pullback. NASDAQ came back to our exact 50% retracement level that we were talking about for the pullback long. So everything we talked about yesterday was about as spot on as it gets. We had a nice clean hold yesterday. We moved up into the rejection points. The exact QQQ rejection point we talked about was the high of day. That high of day turns into a rejection at our key level. That moves us lower into our 50% retracement. And we're now holding that 50% retracement, which was our second level, our deeper pullback demand, and our 6430 on ES. So, I mean, it could not be more perfect to what we talked about yesterday. And all you had to do was trade the levels. That's it. The price action was decent, not great on the overall market, but the levels absolutely stayed true, and I'll show you again today, right, how our game plan yesterday was. I mean, sometimes I get a little bit egotistical, right? I mean, it's a little egotistical, what I said there, but, I want to just sort of, again, right? It's exactly the levels we talked about. And so it's not so much just I'm really good at creating them, but you can do it too. And it's not that hard to find them. And if you just trade objectively off of levels, trust the levels, you can become a fantastic trader, right? But if you let intrusive thoughts come into your head about, this is the big breakout. I don't care about this rejection point. I don't care about, I'm going to short this market. I don't care about this downside demand. When you start to let intrusive thoughts like that creep into your trading, that's when you lose. I mean, it's simply put. If you actually trade with the levels on the market, you will trade successfully. So I'll show you again today how it did exactly what we talked about off of our key levels, and if you traded based off of them, you probably found some success. So we'll do that again today, as we always do. Rob, appreciate that. AMD, yeah, I mean, if you guys stayed in AMD with me and not panicked on some downside yesterday, congratulations. Nice overnight upside here. So still holding my AMD calls, should look pretty good this morning. Really nice key level held, that 162 spot. There's a really nice setup on AMD over 169. So definitely some interest there today for sure. Quote of the day is 6430, 6460. Yes, it is. That's the quote of the day. And those are the levels that you're going to be watching. All right. So with that said, if you guys could, as we jump in, press that like button, subscribe to the channel. It's 8:05. Southwest Florida. What's up, Rob? Represent, man. let's do it. Let's do it. Here we go. So, let's get everything set up here. First thing is first. Let's pull everything over. We got our OBS. We got our chat. Ian, appreciate that, Ian. Yeah, we'll go over Tesla. I'll show you where we were looking at it. If you came to the live stream yesterday, Ian, we talked about that 335 demand. That was really the key driver of my interest on that trade. But I'll sort of show you what triggered the entry point for me yesterday. So today, I don't believe. Hold on. Didn't mean to do that. There we go. Sorry about that. Economic calendar. Let's start there. Let's start with some things to talk about overnight, and then we'll jump into the chart. So, first things first. Today's Tuesday. Durable goods 830. Home price index 9. Consumer confidence 10. Right? I mean, definitely things to watch. Definitely things to watch, but nothing that's red folder, nothing major. But 8:30, we'll see if there's any reaction. 9 o'clock, be aware of home price index. That's before market open anyway. And then consumer confidence at 10, maybe a little bit more important than the rest, right? So just keep an eye on that 10 o'clock time frame. See what consumer confidence does. We shall see. Tomorrow, not much. The only thing tomorrow is NVIDIA earnings, which is massive, 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 massive NVIDIA earnings. So we have to know that heading into tomorrow after hours. And then Thursday, GDP, unemployment claims, and finally, PCE price index. Okay? I think this unemployment claims will be pretty important because of some of the things that were said at Jackson Hole last week. And so we'll see if that sort of reestablishes that thought from Jerome Powell. So that could be pretty important unemployment claims Thursday morning. Okay? All right. With that said, we did have a firing of a Fed official last night, which created some downside volatility here on the S&P 500. You guys saw that overnight. We basically rejected our 60, moved straight into our 30, and we held the 30, and we continue to hold 30. So for me, it's all about key levels still, right? So let's go ahead and talk about our S&P 500 key levels and talk about what happened yesterday. So you guys can see yesterday we had a pretty lackluster day on the S&P 500. You basically moved slightly higher above that 64.76 level. However, that was right when the QQQ basically double topped at our key supply, right? So if you look at the QQQ, our key supply high was 573.32 to around 574, and the exact high of day was 573.29. So we were about 3 cents off the key supply level on the QQQ yesterday. Pretty incredible. On the NASDAQ futures, we were just around 30 points off, right? That was our key CPI high, 23,650. You moved up into it. Very, very clear. Failing these previous highs on the QQQ, 3 cents away from our supply zone. And so that was a very nice level to see failures. This was our red alert. If you guys were part of the group yesterday, right? That's when you get my red alert. I always post, when I think there's a potential failure or when everyone's maybe too bullish, right? When, everything's sort of on one side and you're moving higher and it's sort of like, hey, we're just going to keep going higher. I like to post that red alert because, hey, that is a red alert. And guess what? That was the high of day. So really nice there. Perfect, right? Here's where we posted that right here. First red alert of the day. Right there. What was that? Around 11:35 yesterday. First red alert of the day. And why is that? Because we're trading right into our major supply zone, right? The previous day highs, Friday highs, you're trading up into it. And that is first red alert of the day. And so those things, right? If you're trading off key levels, rather than just trading off vibes and trading off hope and prayers, right? Hey, it's probably time to start to de-risk my longs. And that's exactly what I did, taking off size on Tesla, taking off size on SoFi, taking off size on anything I was long. I knew, hey, I'm not going to trade off of vibes here. I'm going to understand that there's a possibility that we reject the Friday high, and I probably need to start to de-risk long opportunities. That's exactly what I did, and you can see from that point you went straight down. So very clear, very easy, not manipulation. It's just a matter of reacting to previous spots in the market, right? Who reacted and sold their longs at these highs versus who said, I don't give a shit, I'm going to keep holding my longs because it should go higher, right? That's the difference right there, my friends. It's saying, hey, of course I love this long position and I really want more, but I see failures at this point and I have to trade based off that level. I'm not trading based off of I hope this breaks out. That's how people lose money in trading. It's simply that. It's very, very simple. So today on the S&P 500, you guys can see right here, we are trading back below the PPI low, which is not good, right? Technically not good for the short term. However, we're also trapped above a key demand. So this is a very interesting day, my friends, because you are back below our 64.60 and our 64.53 PPI low, which is that exact rejection point, right? If I go here, take a look at this. Last Tuesday, when you guys were watching me and Carmine trade, this was our short right here, 64.53 on the ES. That was our short. That resulted in flashbang. That resulted in a beautiful downside break and retest on Tuesday of last week. That is the exact level that you are failing this morning. Right here, right here, right here, right? So that is clearly, and this was the exact level we had yesterday. I have not touched a single level on this chart since yesterday morning. Really, since Sunday night, right? Sunday night when we did our prep work, I have not touched a single level here. And so we can see that these levels, 64.60 to 64.53, this is now very clearly flipped into a potential failure point. If that stays as a rejection, you are moving lower today into 64.30 again, and possibly into that 64.10 in that daily 20 SMA. Now, what did we say yesterday? After, coming into yesterday, we said how the market was straight up and it definitely warrants a retracement, right? And that's exactly what you've gotten. So you can't get that bearish on this move. Why? Because it's doing exactly what you wanted for the potential upside, right? So if I get a Fibonacci retracement here, right? Yesterday we came into the live stream saying, hey, we may want a retracement of this straight up move, maybe around that 61.8 to 50% retracement and back down to that 64.30. Well, guess what? That's exactly what you did, right? That's exactly what you have done. You have retraced about 50% to 61.8%, and that is right back to the 64.30 previous high that you can see held in the overnight session. So what does this say to me, right? It says that both sides are interesting, and that means to me that 64.30 to 64.60 is the level that I probably don't want to get that aggressive on the market today, because you have failures at 64.60 to 64.53, and you have major demand here at 64.30, right? And so what happens between here is very unknown for me, right? I don't really want to short this down into this. I don't want to long this up into this. It's too tight for me on the S&P 500. Now, if you're trading, futures, and maybe you want to take a little stab long off 30 or a stab short off 53 for a couple points, right? That's definitely possible. And it's possible with options as well. I would rather just see where the next major move forms and take that opportunity. That's what I'm going to personally wait for. But you guys can see here, 64.30, rejection, rejection, rejection here, and that is the level that is holding this morning so far. We'll have to see if it continues to hold. If we continue to fail this 53, I don't think there's a reason to long this. I think that could even extend this downside, maybe down into that daily 20, and possibly just give back that entire Friday move back to 64.10, right? That is possible as well. And you still have this major demand at 63.75, 63.60. So right now, to me, very questionable between this zone, right? Between 60 and 30. That's going to be a very difficult area to be trading today, in my opinion. I would stay away from it. I would set alerts at 60. I'd set alerts at 30, and I'd pay attention if the S&P can get outside of it. NASDAQ futures. So our levels yesterday on the NASDAQ futures were 23,368 to 23,334. Right, that was our retracement level. So if we pull out our fib, we dragged it from this low to this high, and that 61.8 retracement was back at these highs right here at 23,368. That was, let's see how many points off that was from the overnight low. That is about 3 points off the overnight low on the NASDAQ futures. I have not touched this level since Sunday night. And so there you go, right? That's levels at work. Once again, why is that level at work? Why is that level working? Well, it's because it is these previous highs, right? Very clear. These highs to these lows, that's our zone, that's our demand zone, and you can see the market is trying to hold that for now. Now, the question for me today, right, if the market wants to be strong, the question for me and what I need to see happen here is I need to see this next level become a reclaim long, a little reclaim ripper. So this was something we talked about, the reclaim ripper. And so that is what I want to see happen above this Wednesday high right here. See this little area right here? I would like to see the NASDAQ try to hold back above this 430 to 450 zone today. And also yesterday's lows. This was our zone yesterday, and look at the low of day from yesterday in the early morning session, right? Here was our demand heading into yesterday morning. Look at the market open. Perfect. Right off our demand, straight up off of it. Perfect level, upside all day, off of our demand level. So today, the question is, does this previous low reclaim here on the NASDAQ and influence another move higher after giving us a pullback down into that 368? That is going to be a very, very key watch for me. So those are the two levels I'm watching today. 23,430 to 450, previous day lows, Wednesday highs. Does this reclaim and hold and curl back higher? That's going to be interesting to me today. If you fail back under that Wednesday high at 430, then you come back down to that 23,368, possibly 23,334. You break that, you're going down. You're going down to 200, 120 down here. Okay? Got to reclaim the daily 20. And we still have major supply up here at CPI highs at 650. The key is this your pullback long right here? Is this the retracement, consolidation, and pullback long that is setting up on this market? That is going to be the key here to pay attention to. Okay? Let's go to QQQ. You guys can see here on the Qs, we had our 567 level, which was right here, 567, and that was sort of the low that came in last night. However, you are reclaiming previous day lows at 569, and you are back above that Wednesday high at 568.45. So that is going to be the key to see if this holds, right, on this retracement. Does this hold and create that next upside move? If you hold above 567, 566, you are still good on a pullback long. If you fail back under 566, you are back down into this area, which is no bueno. As we said, key supply still above, so technically very much a channel trade and short-lived upside until you get above that upside supply. SPY, pretty much the same as the ES, slightly different, but same idea. Here's your Wednesday high. Look at your low from the overnight session. That's your CPI high at 640 holding tight. CPI highs at 640, the overnight low. That was the exact level we had on our chart. Now what I'm watching now is the PPI low. The PPI low was 641.40, right? And so if I go here, I'm going to put this on your charts. PPI low is 641.40. That is right here. And if you can see, right, look at what the SPY is trying to hold here in the pre-market session. It's trying to hold that PPI low and that 642 spot. That is the exact low here and the rejection point from Tuesday of last week. So do you reclaim that today? Or do you reject that today? That is going to be very, very major. Unless, this is all-time high, so really, unless we get over that all-time high, you're either looking for deeper, right? You're either looking for pullback longs into this high, or you're waiting for this to long and you're longing above all-time highs. You can't long if this bounces and you start longing here. That's terrible. That is terrible, right? You can't, if you're going to commit to a long, you've got to look to see where that entry point is. You can't say, okay, this is going straight up, I'm going to long right into all-time highs. That's not how you trade. So, big move, retracement. It's exactly what you wanted yesterday. This is a very interesting moment where a lot of people said yesterday, I'd love a pullback to be long, and then today they come in and say this is bearish, right? Even though it's doing exactly what you wanted to be long. So you got to figure out what your thesis is today. For me, I'm just going to sort of stay away unless you reclaim 64.60 and this previous day low, right? I'm not going to be long back into the opening low of yesterday into 64.60. That's very clear for me. If we can reclaim 64.60, then my idea of a pullback long is absolutely valid on maybe some kind of an inverse head and shoulder move here, right? Little left shoulder, consolidation, right shoulder, back to the upside, playing my original pullback long thesis and understanding that, okay, yesterday I saw straight up and I wanted a pullback to be long at 64.30. We got that, and I need to stick to the same thesis, right? Yesterday, our exact A-plus long opportunity was where? It was off 64.30, and that is the exact low that's holding. So how do I come into today after looking for a pullback to 64.30 for a potential long opportunity? How do I come into today and now say this is bearish? That is flip-flopping ideas based off of short-term price action. We need to zoom out, look at the levels. What is the actual idea? What is the bigger picture idea? The market's not bearish. It's still above the daily 20. And this was the exact pullback that we were looking for to potentially find a better entry long rather than chasing into all-time highs. So keep an eye on 64.30. I'm not saying that I'm going to just long irrationally like a rabies-fueled animal today, right? That's not what this means, but it means, hey, our key demand is holding, and I'm not going to be shorting into the exact level that I said yesterday could be a great pullback long, right? So 64.30, 64.60, that's why it's our quote of the day. That's it. All right. That was possibly, that's going to be a really good game plan today. So if you could, please press that like button. 2,600 people here, 800 likes. Terrible. Let's get the likes going, please. And now we're going to fly through some stocks. IWM, break and retest exactly at the level we talked about yesterday. We had this previous high. We said look for a pullback long off that level. I mean, look at this. I really can't explain this much better. This is about exactly what we talked about. Previous highs into lows. You can see it happening right now. Good luck on that. SMH, we said, hey, look for the SMH to hold 292, 293. That's exactly what it did. It held the daily 20, and it's starting to maintain above that level. It's doing exactly what we said yesterday. Next, Tesla. We said look for a long off 335 on a pullback long. That's exactly what it did. 335 pullback long, straight up. Almost 15 points of upside from our exact pullback long spot that we talked about for free on this live stream yesterday, if you paid attention. Perfect. Made $11,000 on that trade yesterday, so pretty nice. Today, you can see 344, 343.50. That's the exact highs here. That's the lows here from yesterday, this little hold level. Look at where it's holding today. If you get a deeper pullback, it's 340, it's 344. Those are your two spots to look for Tesla to hold up today. Obviously, the upside supply is heavier than these downside demands. These downside demands are minor. This upside supply is major, right? So I'm not that interested in now being foaming at the mouth long Tesla right into the exact supply that we were looking for a long into yesterday, right? This was the entry. This was the exit. Now we have to watch to see what happens up here. If we get over 350, I think your all systems go to 370. Where did I get into Tesla trade yesterday? I'll go quickly on that for Ian. So Ian, yesterday, as you know, we looked at the 335 key level. That was absolutely our game plan, right? To look for that bounce off 335. So yesterday at the market open, right, we got our pullback back into that key spot. So I'll show you where I flipped long on this. So if you look at Tesla yesterday, you had a very clear downside channel since the open right here. So you were downtrending all morning right into our key demand. We tapped our key demand at 335 on the dot. And then once we got back above right here, right back above this VWAP spot, and so we broke trend, right? We reclaimed the this opening low right around here, right? This morning low right around 338.50, right? We had a reclaim, we had a break a trend, we had a reclaim over VWAP, and that's where I got super interested in Tesla being long right here off VWAP. That was my entry point. So I didn't just stab the lows. That's not how you trade. It's a key level that you look for reactions at. That's not an entry point. That's just a, you want to see that happen to start building your thesis. So we were looking for 335 as the long spot or as the hold spot. It held, it broke trend, it reclaimed VWAP, it reclaimed the morning lows, and I got long right here. And I basically just held it the entire day. And it went straight up to our target. So that was the entry point. And yeah. All right. So that's Tesla. Let's move on. NVIDIA, stronger than I expected yesterday with that SMH strength. Beautiful reclaim of that 179, 178 spot. Beautiful hold of these previous highs. Previous high into lows. Absolutely perfect. 177, awesome off that key spot. Very nice reclaim over 179, 180. Really nice. I mean, look at these previous lows here into the holds here in the in the morning today. Daily 20 now reclaiming as a key hold spot. Tomorrow is earnings after hours, so not much here for me today. You probably could maybe you could probably find a trade up into that 183 possibly if semi stays strong. I'm gonna wait out earnings. I'll just hold my shares, enjoy the shares. I'm not going to trade the options. The options I'm interested on are AMD. AMD, you guys know we talked about this. We talked about this trade last week. We're talking about it pretty much every day. This is still very interesting to me. You guys can see right here, previous highs, previous lows, now double bottom lows at the earnings low. You have a very clear pocket of opportunity between 169 and 174. You have the daily 20 SMA trading up here at 174. You have a beautiful hold of 162 again here on the hourly chart yesterday. Nice pullback yesterday back into our 162 demand, which held here, which held here, which held here. So really nice demand down there. Only level that needs to break today is 169. If you break 169, you have pretty much free air until 174 in my opinion. Probably free air until the daily 20 at 172.86. This is absolutely an area that I'm watching, and I am currently holding AMD calls overnight that are likely going to open up pretty nice. So we'll see if we get over 169. This is an idea that we've been tracking for a week now, and I would continue to watch this today. Today, it got some news that IBM and AMD are partnering to develop next-generation computing architecture. That's sort of what's popping it today. You also got an upgrade from Truist. So yeah, a little bit of upside going on for AMD, a little bit of a catalyst, and I love to trade when there's also a catalyst. So definitely something to watch today, without a doubt. MU is sort of interesting, really not though, but sort of. I'm just waiting to see if something happens here. This is a nice pullback on MU back down to these previous highs here. You can see it's trying to hold up around this area on a nice retracement around 116. So that's something I've been sort of eyeing. Broadcom waiting for it to get over 300, nothing there. And then TSM over 237 today. Could be quite interesting. Right here, 237, 237, 237. Sort of interesting there on TSM if it can get over that in the daily 20. That's really it for the semiconductors. Moving on to large cap tech. Apple, I have nothing for you. I have nothing unless it's over 230 or under 224. So that one's dead to me. Netflix is pretty dead to me. Nice little pop off the 1200 yesterday, but I don't know if I see follow through there yet. Looking for a move over 1230 on Netflix. Meta, really to me, Meta looks like a failure. But, you know, depending on markets, if markets are strong, then I would not be shorting Meta. But you guys can see here, Meta lows, Meta highs. That's a little bit of a break and retest rejection on Meta off the daily 20. So a little bit of a failure look to me. If markets do weaken, I think you probably do see this do a little break and retest failure. So if I do see market weakness, this would probably be the one that I would look for downside on, personally. Amazon, very interesting pullback and consolidation above key demand. You guys can see right here, we have previous highs, 225, 226, 225, 226, 225, 226, and we have a nice consolidation after a reclaim of that level. If Amazon continues to hold above 225, 226, I think you could possibly see the next curl higher up into 230, up into 234. I have to see Amazon hold tight at this 225, 226 zone. Definitely going to be watching, and if we get market strength, that would give me more confidence. Google, not interested in Google. It's at all-time highs. If you zoom out on this chart, the right time to buy Google is on pullbacks to the daily 20. Pullbacks to the daily 20 right here, good long. Pullbacks to the daily 20 right here, good long. Pullbacks to the daily 20 right here, good long. Anyone that longed it at the highs, lost. Longed it at the highs, lost. Longed it at the highs, lost. All right, so if you look at this chart, you probably want to be the guy that's long off the daily 20, not the guy that's FOMOing at the mouth, chasing the all-time highs, right? So maybe Google goes higher, but that's not a good entry point to me. When you zoom out, there's very clear money-making opportunities on Google off the daily 20, and if you missed it, you have to accept it. I missed it. That doesn't mean I'm going to go start trading it at all-time highs today. That just means that I'm not going to trade it. So, you know, got to be selective. Let's go to Palantir. Palantir, there's nothing here until it breaks one of these key levels. I promise you will save your money and a lot of stress if you stop trading Palantir inside of this range. 151 to 162, it has clearly died off and now is consolidating. I would not touch it until it breaks that one of those channel levels. SoFi is a new one that's on my watch list. This is looking very nice. We took a 60-70% long on SoFi yesterday. Shout out to the SoFi boys in the Discord chat. We took a long off 25. What an incredible long off 25. This was straight from the live stream. Was it? Or maybe we talked about this after. Might have been after in the Discord. So this might have been a Discord exclusive one yesterday. Which is good. I like when that happens. 25, you guys can see right here. Key hold, demand, 25. Today, 26. That's very interesting. The only upside supplies at this point is 27 and 28.26. So, still holding some SoFi runners. Let's see if she can go again today. Still holding some runners. And that... Oh, no, there's a few more. Next, Oklo, very interesting. We talked about Oklo yesterday on the live stream. What did we talk about? We talked about these lows, these lows, these lows, turning into rejections and turning back into lows. Look what Oklo is doing right off that key level. That is perfect. A little inverse head and shoulder here off of the 68.69 spot. 74.50. Lewis, we already went over the levels, my friend, so you're a little bit late. You're going to have to wait. Appreciate the coffee. But I'm not going to go back to SPY. We do that at 8:10, so you got to show up. Oklo, 74.50. Rejections. Daily 20 SMA right there. If you can get above that, I am very interested on Oklo upside. Keeping an eye on that today. Yeah, you can just rewind the live stream if you want. Circle, Fig, two things that I'm watching downside on. Watching Circle. For more melting, but there is some demand below, so we'll see about that one today. Fig, IPO that I'm looking for more melting under 71.85, 72, previous lows here. Looking to see if this fails here. Keeping an eye on those two. Those are sort of just little boys that I'm looking to see if I can catch more death on. And then the last one I'm going to go over today is Eli Lilly. Eli Lilly is very interesting. Some news this morning on Eli Lilly. There is a gap to fill over 720 into 740. And you guys can see today, with that catalyst and with that news, you might be able to get your 720 break. And if you get your 720 break, there is nothing until 740. And that is a very interesting move. So those are my watches. All of these charts are posted in the Discord every single day. If you want to join the Discord community and get the key levels on a daily basis so that you can review them, watch them every morning, you can check out below where it says get my levels. You can also join the full trading community where we trade live. These trades that we talk about, we trade them live together as a group. And that is just about it. So if you guys could, before you head out, please press that like button, subscribe to the channel. Hope you enjoyed this nice, quick live stream. I'm not wasting any time today. Got straight to business. Key levels are done. Key watches on the day are done. Let's make it a beautiful day. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace and love.